All right. So this is kind of cool for me because I get to interview one of my mentors and a dear friend and somebody that I highly respect, Rob Quicke, founder of College Radio Day. Hi, Rob.
Hey, Julian, how's it going?
It's going very well, and I'm so happy that you're able to share some time with us and our MAV radio community. Before we start, I just want to ask you what I guess we are starting, but what the heck is College Radio Day?
So the idea came to me back in 2010. I saw this film called The Social Network, you know, that film about the founding of Facebook. And I thought to myself, wouldn't it be nice if there was an idea that could bring people together in college radio? Because I love the idea of this thing that brought people together. And I went to bed and I woke up the next morning and I just had this idea sort of fully formed in my mind of College Radio Day, a day when we all unite. But I also thought, well, that's been done. Surely that's already been done by someone. Did a quick Google and found that no one had done that, and so it sort of grew from there. I thought we should have one day that we kind of normally colleges, universities are very sort of fiercely competitive, and that's all normal and healthy and natural, and particularly when it comes to athletics. But when it comes to college radio, there should be a day when we put aside our differences and we unite for the good of everyone. Because if we all come together, we can be quite a significant presence. And that was 2010. The first College Radio Day was 2011.
So fast forward to 2020. Have you accomplished some of the goals and part of that vision that you set out in 2010?
Yeah, I mean, in the course of a decade, we've had all said and told 1,000 radio stations have participated, 43 countries, 6 continents. One thing I never thought would happen, but did, is that it became international straight away almost. And we had, up to 43 countries involved. And that's a whole different thing now, because suddenly you've got, we have a global marathon every year. So you've got stations in all these different countries and different languages, different cultures. And when we do our global marathon, 24-hour global marathon, you can hear them all broadcasting. Might not be able to, understand what they're saying because of the languages, but you know that they're all passionate and excited about college radio. So the international aspect is really quite amazing to me. So that was something that I never really anticipated. But in terms of actually raising the profile of college radio, I think it's done its job, because we've been in the New York Times, Washington Post, USA Today. It's been good, but the fight doesn't end. It's a continuation every year of reminding people to tune into college radio and to value it, because if it were to disappear, that would be a huge loss, I think.
Well, and that leads me to the question of the evolution of radio. Since 2010, there's been a lot of competing platforms. Is radio dead?
No, I mean, you've seen fragmentation of audience, absolutely, because there's different things that are vying for everyone's attention. That's normal. But I think that the reason why college radio is still going to be around is that it's has a bit more authenticity than these other mediums, in a way, that it's a training ground for students, and that the students who are doing it are enormously sincere. Who are doing college radio, they are learning about radio broadcasting, but they're discovering their own sense of self-identity. For them, it's really important for them to have an outlet for their views, to play the music they're into, to express their opinions and develop their communication skills. So college radio is always going to be there, and has a kind of, people say to me, well, college radio is, dead air and mistakes, and there's this sort of rawness and scruffiness, and it's kind of a bit messy. And I say, yeah, sometimes it is, and that's exactly the point. Actually, that is its selling point. And they say, but how? What are you talking about? Are you insane? And I say, college radio, I think, sometimes is not meant to be polished to perfection. I think what trumps that, what is more important in college radio, is an authentic expression of identity, of character, of opinion, of emotion. And so it might be a bit scruffy around the corners, around the edges, but what you're hearing is authentic. It's someone who is truly communicating what they believe. They're not jaded or cynical or lacking in passion, which can happen when you're many decades into or years into a career. In college radio, you'll hear authenticity. So the very things that people might say invalidate college radio, the fact that it's not perfect, that there are mistakes, I would say actually that's what makes it real. That's what makes it a real sort of human real-time experience, that you are listening to someone who's still figuring it out, but there's a real beauty and value in that they're kind of a little bit more authentic, maybe not so guarded as people would be after many years of doing it.
A lot less voice tracking, that's for sure.
Right, well there you go. Exactly, yeah.
Imperfect radio is what I love, and that's one of the important roles I think that college radio does play for students and for an audience. Uh, where do you see the future of college radio and audio consumption in general?
Well, podcasting is huge, and I think that students, the college radio stations that are really flourishing are those who understand that live radio is important, but also having podcast content is also important as well. I think stations that embrace that, and stations that are producing content that people can access on demand, on their own schedule, at their own convenience, that's really important. But I think it's the genuine medium for the generation that is in college at that time. It's the students' medium. It is a medium of their generation, and I think it's a platform for them. And yes, we have the internet, we have all the social media platforms, absolutely. But college radio is an important outlet in its own right, particularly when you've seen all the changes that have happened in other mediums, particularly commercial radio. Commercial radio is not so much about really allowing that kind of the wide gamut of self-expression and diversity of opinions and content. Only on college radio are you going to hear viewpoints and people and thoughts, ideas, that you're not going to hear anywhere else. They won't be given a chance to be on the air anywhere else. And so it's richly diverse. It's a really wonderful place to go to hear people who won't be given the time anywhere else, and to hear what they have to say. So that will always be a really important part and function of college radio, to be an outlet for a wide range of different constituents. But having said that, obviously these students are going to do college radio, and some of them do want to go into commercial media, professional media industry, and it's still a really important training ground. I'm not saying that anyone who does do that is selling out or compromise themselves, not at all, not in the slightest. But where they do learn the essential skills and where they get their first start is in college radio, and then they go on and they do great things. And I've got many students who work in professional media and radio who look back and they got their start, they found their feet, they found their self-confidence and self-identity in college radio. So it's an important training ground to what's next. But even if you don't go into media, the things that you learn, the skills that you'll develop in college radio will equip you anyway for a whole load of jobs, even if they're not in the media anyway. So college radio is really important, I think, and it's going to continue to be important.
I don't know about you, but I've found some real diamonds, some real gems that maybe in high school or other communities, they really didn't find a voice. They have this bundle of talent, but they were just fearful to let it out. And our team makes it so comfortable that they're willing to take some chances, and they know that there's not going to be ridicule from other people. There's support at our station, and that's what I see on this global scale with College Radio Day. Is that similar to the experience that you found as well?
Yeah, sometimes, a couple of cases, sometimes I found in my experience, being a professor and educator like yourself, sometimes students don't quite realize how good they are or how talented or the potential they have. And part of the joy, what keeps us going, is those moments when we see a student come into their own, to develop, to fully sort of come into fruition and to develop that potential. Moments when they really understand how good they are, actually. I've had students compete with professional, back in Chicago when I was running a station there at St. Xavier University, WXV, I didn't realize we were not meant to do this, but I entered at the station for the Illinois Silver Dome Awards, which are the professional broadcasting awards for the Illinois Broadcasting Association. I didn't know that college stations don't enter that because they have their own, my first year, or first couple of years, and they had their own student broadcasting awards. But I entered us because I thought we were, not all the time does college radio do this, honestly, not all the time, but once in a while, we're capable of producing amazing content that is good as, if not better than, the professionals. So I thought we were doing some incredible documentaries, we were doing some incredible public affairs programming, so I entered us into the Silver Dome Awards in Chicago, Illinois, in the Chicago market, the biggest market of them all. And we got nominated in the category of Best Local Public Affairs Programming. And we're up against, I don't know whether you've heard of a station called WGN. Have you heard of WGN? They're big in Chicago.
A little bit.
So with this college station, with a budget of $10,000 a year, up against WLS and WGN and WBBM, I think. Anyway, we didn't win first place. We didn't. But we came second. We came second for Best Local Public Affairs in all of Chicago, with that budget of 10,000, and in third place with that budget of 10 million plus at least was WGN. And that was the David versus Goliath, the movie moment, was how did a college radio station beat WGN that has like 20, 30 full-time people versus my skeleton crew of like 10 students who do this in between classes. And I've got to believe it's because sometimes students are capable of seeing and are covering and are talking about things that are perhaps invisible or professional radio stations might never even consider or think about, because they've got their gaze, they've got their view fixed on a certain thing, and things fall between the cracks. Things are not easily sometimes accessible to them. But once in a while, students are capable of producing incredible content. So we came away second place for the Silver Dome Awards, beating WGN in third place. And that was just and I've had experiences like that, not exactly like that again, but I've had experiences where students have flourished and have done really well. Like I've entered a couple of students before. I said, this is really good. And students said, no, this is terrible. This is terrible. I said, I'm telling you, this is really good. You should enter this into the IBS Awards or something. And they've ended up winning first place nationally. And they can't quite believe it. Now, the flip side to that is that sometimes you get students who come in and they think they are the finished, perfect, polished product. And there's a bit of a rude awakening when you trying to explain, or they find out soon enough anyway that they've still got a lot to learn. I think the best students are those who realize that they've got a lot to learn, and that actually they never stop learning. That the whole process anyway, if you're going to have a career in broadcasting, the whole process, you've got to be open to learning and developing and improving always. So it's a really interesting, but for me, the most satisfying is students who you can get them during your time with them, get them to start actually fulfilling their potential.
Wonderful. And it's a lot of it is right here. It's that heart, it's that passion that drives people. And you don't get paid a lot in this medium. So it's one of those things that you just can't lose that passion for the content. So you say that was one of your favorite memories. What about with College Radio Day? When you look back at 10 years, do you have a memory that stands out more than others?
Yeah. So, I mean, we've been to the White House. I remember that I got this phone call. I was in class. I was teaching radio. And I knew I was expecting a phone call because I've been trying to get an interview with Obama or Biden. He was vice president at the time. I've been sort of sending a couple of emails off. And I just had this feeling that they might respond, because I said, dear President Obama, I'm contacting you on behalf of over 500 college radio stations in the USA. Now, if it was just me and my station, or just one station, they would, be dismissed. But when you say I'm contacting you on behalf of hundreds of colleges and universities, I had this feeling that couldn't be easily dismissed or ignored. So I was in class and I was teaching, and I never normally have my cell phone with me, but I had it with me, and it was vibrating. And I just said, hold on a second. I was up there teaching, and I looked, and it was a Washington number. So I said, would you hold on a second, everyone? And like the whole class looked at me, 30 kids looked at me. So I answered the phone, put it on speakerphone, which is, I suppose, risky by putting it on speaker, because then anyone could have just yelled something. I said, hello, is that Dr. Quicke? Said, yes. This is the White House. Will you please hold for the Vice President's office? So I said, yeah. So my kids were like, they thought this was a joke, right? It wasn't the Vice President, but it was his assistant saying, hey, Vice President Biden, we wants to talk to you tomorrow. Can he call you tomorrow? What time would be good for you? I said, yeah. I mean, I suppose I could fit him in, And I hung up, and the students couldn't believe it. And they were like, sorry, did that just happen? I said, yeah. And the next day it happened. So Joe Biden called him and did an interview with him. And then we ended up being invited to the White House. And Obama did a letter for us. 3 times actually gave us a letter recognizing what we're doing. And that was pretty cool. But beyond that, it's moments like going to the FCC a couple of years ago, sitting down in the same room next to Ajit Pai, the FCC commissioner, saying to him, "So how important is college radio, do you think, in your opinion?" He said, "Very, enormously important. Getting these people to say on record to commit to the importance of college radio, to keeping it going, that's really important." When you got the FCC commissioner saying, "I commend you for what you do. This is important." That's good, because you don't want the FCC commissioner saying, "I don't value college radio. Maybe we should get rid of it." So we've had moments like that. We've had obviously celebrities, stuff like that, but it's been amazing for me, really, over the years, 10 years. I suppose you have those moments with important people, but I think the most important legacy of what we've done are the hundreds of students, probably maybe more, and I hear from them, who started out, that had this incredible college radio day experience, and it changed their lives sort of, because it convinced them that they wanted to go into radio, into the media. And now they're in the media. Now they're working professionals who look back, or they contact and say, it really began at my college radio station, and college radio day was when it was really a big deal for me. And so we've got all these students who were transformed by college radio, had this great experience of college radio day, and then went on to do great things. And one final story about that is that I heard of this, the station contacted me, I'm not even going to say the state because I don't want to get in trouble, but this guy called me up. He said, "Hey, you don't know me, but I need to tell you the story of what's happened." I said, "Sure." I said, "Well, we're at this one university in this particular state, and there's this other state, university that we can't stand, or this institution that we have this huge rivalry with, that we hate each other, and we've been fighting against each other for years, and that kind of thing. And something really weird has happened, and you should know about it." I said, "What happened?" I said, "Well, they reached out to us and they said, 'Hey, do you want to perhaps do something together for college radio day? Do you want to do a joint event or something?'" And they ended up doing this joint event, this joint concert, which by all accounts, apparently had all these people coming, and by the end they were hugging each other, and they were swearing lifelong friendships to each other. And they said that what happened was college radio day brought these two warring kind of college radio stations who had this fiercely competitive approach to each other, relationship with each other. They ended up coming together and uniting on that day, and people forged friendships and bonded with each other, and that never would have happened if it wasn't for college radio day. So stories like that are kind of pretty cool to hear, aren't they?
Absolutely remarkable. Wow, what a legacy. That's some good stuff. So fast forward to this year. There's some exciting stuff happening this year, and I don't want to take your thunder away. It's already been announced, so I guess it's not really taking thunder away. But how excited were you to hear from Brett Michaels, and when he agreed, not only agreed, but he was really heartfelt on being the ambassador for College Radio Day 2020.
Yeah. So I, a lot of people know Brett Michaels obviously from TV and the music, and Poison. The thing for me is I obviously I don't know him personally, but I've talked to him a few times now, and he's totally legit and sincere and passionate about college radio. And he was like, I need to I want to be ambassador, because we were thinking about, normally it's who could we get that would actually be proud to be an ambassador for college radio. Some people still don't really, really sort of value us perhaps. But, sometimes famous celebrities are like, I don't need college radio anymore. Maybe at the beginning, but not anymore. Brett Michaels was really fantastic, and he said, "I'm going to donate $10,000 to the college radio fund." So already we're going to give out these Brett grants, that we're going to call them, to help college radio stations. So he was already doing that. And then he was like, I'm going to do interviews for you, I'm going to help do press, I'm going to, really help get involved, and I want to promote this and do media and do interviews. So he's really, for our 10th year, he's really raised the bar, because, $10,000 is not to be sniffed at. That's actually a huge amount of money for us. It's more than we've ever raised, largest single donation we've ever had. But it's just really good to have someone of his, notability publicly standing with college radio. We say to people, will you stand with college radio? A really important thing. Will you stand with us? And sometimes people say, what? No, I never listened to you. Are you still around? Is college radio still around? And others, sometimes it really heartens you. Sometimes you really feel like, yes. And I think from talking to him, I've got a chance to sort of get to know Brett now a little bit. And he's totally legit. He's totally genuine. I mean, he really is He says, I want to support the students any way I can. They've had a tough time of it, haven't they? I said, yeah, the coronavirus, the pandemic is, a lot of college radio stations are shut down or they're doing remote broadcasting. The idea that the college radio station, normally for me at my university, at William Paterson University, where I have my station, the college radio station is a social hub. Everyone's there, everyone's hanging out there. It's like a social thing, and that's been decimated by the coronavirus. That's been sort of prevented. So I said, I really want to help. I really want to get the students fired up and get them excited. So Brett Michaels is doing it this year and, really raising the bar.
I think of the old cliche, putting his money where his mouth is, but in this case, and I've got to witness it through College Radio Day, he's actually donating money, but I think even moreover, which is important, but it is that support. It's the time he's taking to spend with students and answering students' questions
Right.
and giving advice for the future.
He's doing these ask Brett things where he's saying, students got any questions about anything, they can ask me and I'll give them some real advice and some opinions for my own story. So we do the Ask Brett videos. Again, he's not the kind of person, I get the sense, who wants to do as little as possible and move on. He's trying to do as much as he can and really make a difference. That's really nice. That's really it's really felt like, this year we've really got someone of stature who's giving us support and wanting us to succeed. That's what I felt really encouraged when I first talked to him, and I realized this is not just a thing he can write a check and then just walk away. I realized the sincerity of him very quickly. So I salute him for that and I thank him for that.
So Rob, anybody who wants to get involved, any colleges that want to get involved, any companies, any businesses, organizations, how could they get involved?
Yeah, so College Radio Day is the event, which is every year in October. But the organization now that we founded that runs this event is called the College Radio Foundation. You can go to collegeradio.org and obviously businesses can make donations and individuals, if they want, can join our Friends of College Radio Club. It's $5 a month to do that. But what we do is essentially we're all volunteer non-profit, so no one gets paid to do this. And the money that we get goes into the College Radio Fund. And then we give that money to the college radio stations that need help the most. And there's a lot of them. I mean, I remember one year we could only give out 6 or 7 grants and we had 44 applicants and 44 stations saying we're desperate for money. So there's a real need to help support college radio. And we are, I think, as far as I know, the only charity organization that's really fighting on behalf of the medium of college radio itself. And that's what we're doing there. That's what I sort of devoting a lot of my time to, is promoting college radio for the sake of all of us that we work on college radio that promotes everyone. But you can go to collegeradio.org and see what we're about. It's pretty exciting. And I would say that everyone who gets involved in this, I mean, people are giving their time, they're giving their passion, their time, their energy, because they believe in college radio. And that's, for me, the proof is in the pudding, that no one's getting paid to do this. So how come we've been able to do so much? Go to the FCC, go to the White House twice, get all these celebrities. Internationally, we've been to Finland, we've been to Italy, been to the UK. We've done all these things. Been to Colombia. I was invited to speak about World College Radio Day in Colombia, in Bogota. So for me, it's been this whole international movement that people is resonates with everyone around the world, and yet we're all doing it. No one does this for the money. Let's be honest. We do it because we love it and because we're passionately interested in it, and we want to keep it going. It would be a tragedy if college radio was to disappear. So if you want to see it continue, help us do that by donating or getting involved and following us on social media and stuff like that.
And I have to just add, putting a little bit of my flavor in here, but there's a lot of illnesses, there's a lot of issues right now in 2020 that, folks are losing jobs, maybe losing homes. There's a lot of things going on right now. But without college radio and without without teaching students to learn their voice and to be able to tell these stories, how is that going to get out to the masses? How is that information? How are these stories going to be told? That's why college radio, in my opinion, is incredibly valuable. And
well, I want to commend you for all that you're doing at Marv Radio, because I think that you've got your students there, and I know that you are advisor to that radio station, and you're you're with the students. I mean, I know that this has been a difficult time now, and that also a lot of students are at home, but ordinarily you and I are engaged in the very practical business of showing these students how to do radio, to produce radio, to do interviews, how to train them up. There's a life-changing skill. So I want to thank you for all that you're doing. I really think it's important. And you know, you can also probably testify as well as I can that when a student comes to us and by the time they leave us, we can witness the transformative effects and power of college radio. That's a transformative experience. Students come to us, had a student who's called Steve, and he got the nickname, he didn't mind, he kind of liked it. His name was Nervous Steve. His nickname was Nervous Steve because he was sweating buckets and he was shaking in the studio the first few weeks of that semester he went on the air. And he actually liked the name. He called himself, "You're listening to Nervous Steve," even though he then went on from there. Well, that Nervous Steve was Steve Pasaha, who did a master's in radio journalism at Columbia in New York, and then won one of 3 national Ray Kroc fellowships for NPR. Wow. So he's now working for NPR as a national reporter. And he started at college radio. And I remember he was shaking so much, he could barely get the fader up, right? And now he's doing stories for NPR that once I turned on the radio NPR, in New York City, and I heard his voice doing a story, a national story.
Wow.
That is the transformative power of college radio. It can change careers, it can change students' lives. And that's what you and I are involved in. We're hoping that the students can get the best out of their time with us, and we wish them all the best.
Fantastic. Rob, I'll leave you with the last word. Any parting words for our audience?
Just thank you for your time, and tune into college radio, stay listening, because you never know what you're going to hear. Sometimes you're going to hear incredible things, and you're certainly going to hear things that you will not hear anywhere else.
That's right. And that is Rob Quicke, founder of College Radio Day. And on behalf of college advisors and faculty and just those who love college radio, thank you so much for everything that you've done.
Thanks for the time, Jadine. Appreciate it. Cheers.